I'm Ron Bartlett. I'm a re-recording mixer, and I primarily did the dialogue and music in the film.
My name's Joe Walker. I'm the film editor of Dune Part 2, and we're going to take a look at the sandworm sequence.
We come down to a very, very tiny amount of sound at the beginning. It's very still, almost no wind, and you hear Paul's footsteps, his breathing, the thumper going in, all those very personal, small sounds. And then as it grows, you see the worm coming in the distance. We purposely kept that very quiet. And even though it's a massive worm breaking through and you see the sand go, we kept that at bay to really build the dynamics and the tension.
I would say that, in a way, it's really obeying a sort of pattern that's established in the book. The idea of contrast, that you're seeing there, we're going from really tight close ups of the eyes to massive vistas. And I think that reflects in a way Denis shot this. It encapsulates something true to the book, which is its intimate human drama on an epic scale. It's a longish shot where you see Paul in the foreground and the worm approaching, then disappearing, and then Timothée plays it very beautifully, this moment of being lost and not knowing where it's coming at. And you get this strong sense of a predator, an intelligent predator coming towards you, and Paul is the prey. Denis was keen for me in the cut to kind of achieve a feeling that he might not make it, that it's not a caped superhero here. This is just a flawed human being who's well trained, but he wanted to up the amount of peril that Paul would be in. We had this great conversation once where, of course, people think of Lawrence of Arabia as being the ultimate desert film. But at one point he said, but maybe in this scene we need to think a little bit more like Roadrunner. And my assistant printed out a picture of Wile E. Coyote and stuck it on the wall to remind us that it should have a little bit of Chuck Jones about it. Having held back the pace earlier, now you can see these shots are coming thick and fast, and the sound is becoming more varied. And of course we've got not particularly tonal music, but it is music generated by Hans Zimmer, that kind of fizzy, sandy sound, which is a combination of multiple layers and specially built instruments.
First time we did it, we took everything down like really far, and it was very muffled and almost out with the sound effects, and the music came in pure. And it just felt like, it's too harsh, too much of a change. So I don't know if it was Richard or Doug or the both, but they had the idea of like keeping some wind and certain things, some sand whipping by, to allow that bridge to happen in a nicer way. It becomes a little more ethereal and not so in your face like bold, but it allows Loire to come in and set that tone.
I remember hearing that piece of music for the first time, and it feels like he scored it as an encounter with God. It's not an action sequence music at all. The tempo is slow and stately and grand.
And that's what Hans really brought to that scene so well. And anybody could have said, oh, great, we're on the worm with fast strings and percussion and all that kind of thing. He went the other way and went total spiritual. As you're telling about what Paul did, what happened to him. It's not about the worm now. It's about Paul rising to that new level of I'm writing the biggest worm ever seen, and all of that. And that's the whole point of it.
In the words of Monty Python, we're just trying to decide whether he's the Messiah or just a naughty boy.